Capricorn, before you take another step, I need you to be still. Just for a moment. Just long enough to hear the truth you've been avoiding. The truth your heart has whispered for months, maybe even years. Because the message that is arriving for you now is not meant for the version of you who survived. It's meant for the version of you who is finally ready to live. You've carried so much, Capricorn. More than you ever admitted. More than anyone ever realized. You've become so good at being the strong one that the world forgot to ask if you were tired. You've become so good at holding everything together that no one noticed when you began to fall apart internally. And worst of all, you've become so good at pretending you're okay that even you stopped checking in with your own heart. But your soul remembers. Your soul keeps score. Your soul knows the nights you cried quietly, not because anyone hurt you, but because you were exhausted from being the one who must always endure. You know that feeling. The heaviness in your chest. The lump in your throat. The emotional fatigue that no amount of sleep can erase. Capricorn, you've been carrying the weight of unspoken stories. Stories you never told, because you convinced yourself that no one would understand. Stories of being taken for granted, of being misunderstood, of giving your all to people who gave you only fragments in return. Stories of holding others while no one held you. You've built your life around responsibility. You've built your heart around discipline. You've built your identity around endurance. But underneath all that strength, something inside you has been quietly breaking. And maybe that's why this message found you now. Because the universe knows you've reached a point, a threshold, where your heart cannot keep carrying what your mind keeps suppressing. So let's start here. You are not weak for wanting peace. You are not selfish for wanting softness. You are not dramatic for needing connection and understanding. And you are not unworthy because some people failed to see your value. Capricorn, you've spent years giving the world the strongest parts of you. Maybe it's time to give yourself the softest parts. You've lived through seasons where you had to grow up too fast, where you had to be emotionally responsible for people who should have been responsible for themselves, where you had to swallow your feelings just to keep the peace, where you had to pretend you were okay just so life didn't collapse around you. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry everything alone. And yet you did. You always did. That's why you are the way you are. Steady but guarded. Loving but careful. Loyal but cautious. Giving but measured. You learned early that trust cannot be handed out freely. You learned that people can love you and still fail you. You learned that sometimes the ones who depend on you the most are the ones who see you the least. And Capricorn, I need you to hear this gently. You learned how to be strong. But you never learned how to let someone be strong for you. Not because you didn't want to, but because you never had the space to learn. Every time life broke you, you had to fix yourself. Every time someone left, you had to rebuild alone. Every time you collapsed emotionally, you wiped your own tears, stood back up, and acted like nothing happened. You became your own healer, your own protector, your own anchor. And while that made you powerful, it also made you lonely. Because no one knows how heavy your strength truly is. But this chapter, this new cycle you're entering, is not about proving how much you can carry. It's about finally putting down what was never yours to hold. It's about healing the parts of you that had to grow up too fast. It's about reclaiming the softness you buried to survive. It's about letting yourself be human again, not just useful. Capricorn, listen carefully. You are entering a season where the universe will remove everything that feels heavy and replace it with things that feel real. Real peace. Real support. Real connection. Real love. The kind of love that doesn't ask you to shrink. The kind that doesn't drain you. The kind that feels like home. The kind you don't have to earn by being strong. But before all that arrives, something else must happen first. Something deeply emotional, deeply internal, deeply necessary. You must face what you've been avoiding. The grief you postponed. The disappointment you suppressed. The anger you swallowed. The exhaustion you ignored. The loneliness you never admitted. The heartbreak you pretended didn't hurt. Capricorn, your healing doesn't begin when you feel strong. Your healing begins when you finally allow yourself to feel. You've been carrying emotional weight that was never meant to be permanent. You've been carrying guilt that was never yours. You've been carrying responsibilities that were meant to be shared. You've been carrying pressure that was meant to be temporary. But because you're Capricorn, the earth sign of resilience, the mountain climber, the survivor. You kept going long after your spirit asked you to rest. This is where your story turns. This is where your heart begins to breathe again. Let me take you deeper. Think about the people you loved the most. The ones you gave the purest parts of your heart to. The ones you trusted. The ones you believed in. The ones you showed your vulnerability to. Some of them stayed. Some of them didn't. And some of them broke you without even realizing it. But you know what hurts the most. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because you were tired of being the only one who cared. You walked away because love without reciprocity becomes a prison. You walked away because loyalty without respect becomes self-destruction. You walked away because staying would have destroyed the parts of you that were still trying to heal. And Capricorn, you made the right choice. But even when you walk away physically, emotionally, you hold on longer than you admit. You replay everything. You wonder what you did wrong. You question your worth. You blame yourself for things that were never your fault. You heal slower because you feel deeper. And because you rarely tell anyone what you're going through. You suffer in silence. But the truth is, Capricorn, you never deserved the pain that made you this guarded. You never deserved the people who loved your strength but ignored your exhaustion. You never deserved to be the one holding everyone while no one held you. You never deserved the emotional neglect you normalized. You never deserved to feel unappreciated for the love you gave freely. But here's where the emotional climax begins. The shift. The turning point. The quiet revolution inside you. You are not the same person you were before. You've changed. Not in the loud, dramatic way people expect, but in the quiet, powerful way that only life can create. You're softer in the heart but sharper in the mind. You're more cautious, but also more awake. You're less tolerant of chaos, but more open to real connection. You're no longer impressed by empty promises. You're no longer swayed by temporary people. You're no longer willing to betray yourself just to keep the peace. You're choosing you now. And that choice is changing everything. Capricorn, this is your healing era. This is the season where you stop romanticizing struggle. Where you stop giving second chances to people who didn't value the first. Where you stop abandoning yourself to be chosen by others. Where you stop carrying emotional burdens that aren't yours. This is the season where your heart becomes honest. Where your boundaries become sacred. Where your energy becomes protected. Where your peace becomes your priority. And now, the deepest truth. Some people from your past will return. Not because they deserve you. Not because they've grown. Not because they finally understand your value. But because your energy was a gift they didn't know how to cherish until it was gone. They will return because life showed them what they lost. They will return because your absence is louder than your presence ever tried to be. They will return because their life feels empty without the stability, love, and loyalty you once gave effortlessly. But listen carefully. Their return is not a sign to reopen the door. It's a sign that you've healed beyond the version of yourself they once knew. They are coming back to the old you. But you are not there anymore. You've grown past the places where they left you. You've evolved into someone they no longer recognize. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer needs validation, attention, or even closure. You became your own closure. And that is why their return does not shake you. It simply confirms what your soul already knew. Losing them was never your loss. It was your liberation. Capricorn, hear this. Your future is not something you walk into. Your future is something you grow into. And you are growing beautifully, quietly, powerfully, authentically. You're finally learning that. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Not everyone deserves the version of you who gives endlessly. Some people were only meant to be lessons, not lifetimes. And your lesson is now complete. Capricorn, a new chapter is opening. A chapter full of emotional clarity, deep connection, genuine love, and gentle peace. But before you walk into it, there is one final truth you must accept. You are allowed to be loved in the way you love others. Deeply, consistently, safely, fully. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to be vulnerable. You are allowed to let someone hold you the way you've been holding everyone else. You are allowed to choose a life that feels light. A heart that feels supported. a love that feels mutual, a peace that feels real. Capricorn, you've carried the weight long enough. It's time to let your heart breathe again. It's time to let healing find you. It's time to let softness return to you. It's time to be loved the way you deserve. And this time, you don't have to be strong to receive it. You just have to be willing. You've given the world so much of you. Now it's time to give something back to yourself.